Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of The Fishing Teacher, and really appreciate you guys checking out today's video and spending some time with me. And guys, today I'm here in the tackle room, and I just want to have sort of a one-on-one conversation about some things you can do if you're just getting started out in bass fishing. Maybe you've been fishing for a little bit, but say you've got under 5 years of experience under your belt. I want to give you guys some real basic foundational tips and advice that will really accelerate your fishing success if you just sort of incorporate them into your game plan. They're not complicated, they're pretty easy to do. And this is something that I've learned, through trial and error, the hard way, observing people, going through that process myself. So we're going to get into that in today's episode. Also, guys, before we get started, I just want to take time to extend a big thank you to everybody that's taken time to use my Tackle Warehouse link that I put in every video description. I know you guys get burned out on hearing it, but if you guys are looking to purchase tackle or fishing gear or clothing or whatever, Tackle Warehouse has got everything, and anything you buy there, the channel gets a small percentage of the commission. So that's a good way to give back here to the Fishing Teacher if you're inclined to do so. Really appreciate that. Okay, I sort of like compare this to like building a house. It's like when you're on your journey through bass fishing throughout your life, it's like building a brick house. Everybody has to start with the first brick, and some of us are putting down our first brick, and some of them are getting ready to finish the house. It just depends on how long you've been doing it, how much effort and time you put into it, but it's okay because that's just part of the process. Everybody has different things they want to get out of bass fishing. They have different things that are important to them. Some people, their expectations may be super high. They want to get to be a competitive angler. Other people just want to go out and just enjoy a day on the water. So, and everything in between. So, whatever if you're just laying your first brick or your last brick, and whatever your expectations are in fishing, I think that if you utilize some of these tips, it's really going to help you guys out. Okay, now let's talk about some of the things that you can do right now practically to really, really accelerate your fishing success. The first thing, and some of these things, guys, they're not sexy, they're simple, but don't underestimate their importance, because every single one of them, the more you incorporate every one of them, the more you're going to notice an incremental success in the amount of fish you catch every trip. The first one, guys, is you have got to be the best caster that you can. I cannot overemphasize this enough. It's like, if you can't put the bait where you want to put the bait, your odds of catching a fish, especially around any type of target fishing, like traditional structures like rocky banks and boat docks and trees in the water, grass beds or whatever, if you can't put your lure where you want to put it, the odds of you catching fish go down the toilet unbelievably. Because let me give you a prime example. Let's say you and I are out fishing boat docks, and we got on this pattern where we're running a shallow running crankbait down the sides of the boat dock. Say the fish were suspended under these docks, and we figured out we can take a crankbait or a chatterbait or something and run it right alongside the floats and catch fish. Now, when you're talking about that, as far as getting the fish to come out from underneath that boat dock in order to hit this, you got to put that bait right next to that dock. I'm talking like no more than 5 or 6 inches away from it. If you put it a foot away from it, you may not get a bite. If you put it 8 inches away from it, you might not get a bite. You have got to be able to lay that bait in there every time where you want it. That is the most basic assumption. And the same goes for any type of target. Putting it next to a lay down log, making sure that spinner bait is right next to that lay down and not a foot away from that lay down. Pitching and flipping is like the biggest one, because on my on the water lessons that I do, a lot of times we're doing pitching and flipping. And if you can't put that bait in that little sweet spot in that bush, or next to that shady spot, or next to that little hole in the grass bed, if you cannot put your bait in that area, you're not going to catch nothing. But if you can just get your lure in there, your odds of catching one go up 100%. So practice your casting, and practice it with a diversity of different types of casts and with different type of equipment. Learn how to throw a spinning rod, learn how to skip with a spinning rod, learn how to throw a spinning rod underhanded, learn how to throw a spinning rod overhanded, learn how to pitch and flip with both hands, become ambidextrous. That's a really big thing. Learn how to cast sidearm, learn how to cast overhand, learn how to skip with a bait cast reel. it's free and easy. It's like you can do it. You can take some time on the water and do it, or you can do it out in your yard, but never underestimate that. That's going to be a big, big part of it. The next thing, sort of in line with that, if you have a boat, we'll talk a little bit about bank fishing here in a second, but if you do have a boat, your trolling motor operation and how you position the boat in correlation with your casting skills is another thing that you've really got to learn and master. Now, these are things that I don't care how long you've been bass fishing, if you just started or whatever, and you just got a boat, you can do this. This is stuff that you can do every single day to help out, but you got to be a master at running a trolling motor. In other words, you got to understand your boat positioning in relationship to the cover and how your boat moves. Because if you have a little 16 or 15 foot flat bottom aluminum, it moves through the water and it starts and stops a lot different than if you have a 21 foot fiberglass boat with a 250 horsepower on it. So you have to learn the characteristic of your boat as far as how much force and how much speed that it takes to get that boat moving, and more importantly, how much force and speed it takes that boat to slow down if you're approaching a piece of cover. You don't ever want to get too close to a piece of cover with your boat before you start fishing it, and you don't want to be too far away from it. You want to be in the perfect position. Now, the perfect position is going to be determined by things like, the wind direction, the wind speed, the current, time of day, sunlight, all that type of stuff. But you want to make sure that when you roll into a piece of cover and you got that trolling motor in the water, that you really, really take time to position your boat for the maximum and the best cast with it. Don't get too close is the main thing. Shut down a long way away like your big motor. Slowly idle up to the area and try to sneak up on those fish. That's another thing that you can do when you're learning is be quiet in the boat. Don't be rocking the boat back and forth. Don't be rummaging around through your storage compartments and making a lot of noise. Don't be talking real loud. If you just quiet down and go slow, when you put your trolling motor in the water, don't like slam it down on the bracket, lower it down nice and easy, and don't turn your trolling motor up too high. Just turn it fast enough to get you where you want to go. In other words, be methodical, be slow, be stealthy. Those are huge things that you can do if you're just starting out fishing that doesn't require a ton of time or years on the water. A lot of this stuff in bass fishing, it takes a long time to learn. When you're talking about like seasonal patterns and bass behavior and movement, those are things that you never learn, even throughout your course of your life. But the things like I just talked about with boat positioning and casting, that's something you can do really, really quick with that. Okay, the next thing that you can do is try to absorb and try to assimilate as much information that you can, through YouTube. YouTube is one of those deals, guys, that the learning curve has been cut down to nothing. It's like when I started fishing, the only information that we had was like if you could go fishing with somebody that was a good fisherman. There wasn't any access to information. The magazine articles were pretty much useless 50 years ago. So you had to learn on your own or fish with somebody that's good. But now you can go out and watch tournament videos, YouTube videos. You can see exactly how they're done. But let me caution you with this on something. Don't assume that you can just spend your time watching fishing and learning about somebody talking about throwing a crankbait or whatever and go do it. You have got to be able to apply that on the water. And therefore, the best way to do that is like assimilate and absorb that information that you can free and try to go fishing with somebody that is good, that knows what they're doing with the technique, and watch them firsthand on how they approach everything. You can't underestimate how important that is. For example, guys, I can take you out. I can do a video on how to flip and pitch, lay down trees, or how to flip and pitch reeds or lily pads. And you can probably learn something there. But if you're in the boat with me and I can show you all the nuances that I'm talking about as far as boat positioning, how I cast, how my lure goes off how it spools off the line, how I determine my cast based upon the wind and sunlight angle, and explain that to you guys on the water, that makes all the difference in the world. So really, really try to balance that out between fishing with somebody that's good and just absorbing as much information that you can. The next thing you can do is, and this is something that I lose a lot of people when I talk about this, is that you have got to really focus on understanding bass mood and behavior and seasonal patterns and seasonal movements of bass. Now, you got to realize, guys, I'm talking about real bass fishing here. I'm not talking about spotlighting for bass. Spotlighting for bass is an aberration of fishing that none of this applies to. So, but I'm talking about traditional real bass fishing. But when you do that, it's like, you have got to really become a student of the fish, and you have got to try to understand as far as where they are at different times of the year. Now, nothing is set in stone with it. That's one of the things you have to remember about bass fishing that frustrates a lot of people, is that bass don't read books, bass don't watch YouTube videos, they have a mind of their own. But you have to have a starting point, you have to have a baseline to where you have to begin looking for fish, and a baseline for the lures you want to tie on the day that you're out there and places you want to fish. And by understanding things about how bass move throughout the season in the wintertime, the pre-spawn, the spawn, the post-spawn, summer patterns, fall patterns, in relationship to water temperature changes, water clarity changes, time of day, sunlight hours, the amount of sunlight we have throughout the year changes all the time. All that stuff factors into where bass live and the techniques and the lures they prefer at certain times of the year. So try to become a student of that. Also, guys, pay attention to the weather. Weather is a really big, factor in determining your technique. And finally, guys, I could talk for hours about this, but I'm just trying to keep it just to getting you started out here. And the final thing I want to talk about is spend some time on your computer looking at the Google Earth maps and the Navionic web app. Now, these are two different things. Both of them are free. You can just download them on your phone or your computer. And the Google Earth maps of a lake, if you pull up the lake that you're going to fish, it doesn't matter. They have them, if you're fishing a farm pond, you can pull up a Google Earth, image of a farm pond even. But when you pull up a Google Earth map, it allows you to study everything on the lake in terms of the structure available and the water clarities. Because on a satellite image of a lake, you can see different water clarity changes throughout the lake. So if you're looking for dirty water, you can get on, Google Earth and you can find the dirty water on the map, or clear water. So that's a good thing. And then also, if it's a lake that you've never been to before, or even a lake that you've been to before, but you're not real familiar with it, you can zoom in on this Google Earth and you can see boat docks, you can see lay down trees, you can see rock transitions, you can see underwater vegetation. It's a really, really great tool. You can't see contours on there, but you can get on that Navionic web app and you can actually see, it's just like a map that you have on your GPS or something. And it allows you to really study at home and prepare for your fishing trip even before you get there. Because if you can get on Google Earth and you can, look at the lake and look at the options available, it's almost like you're pre-fishing at home. You're actually assimilating information that will allow you to find those fish quicker once you get out there. But anyway, guys, that's just a few things off the top of my head. If you're just getting started, or you're, I don't mean like if you're a beginner, but even if you've been fishing for a little bit, incorporate those things that I just talked to you guys about. It's going to make a difference. And guys, if there's one thing I can tell you more above anything else, get good as a caster and get good running that trolling motor. If you can make improvements in that in your fishing, you're going to notice some huge successes. I mean, as far as the consistency that you catch more fish moving forward. So anyway, I hope it helps, guys. We'll talk later.